Welcome to the KISC My Health Radio show series on Building Fortunes Radio. KISC My Health is brought to you by the universally recognized Cranberry King, Captain Cran Man Stephen Lukawski. Over the past 30 years, Stephen has worked with North American dietary supplement companies in the nutraceutical industry. His efforts and connections generate ingredient sales through innovative delivery systems and effective marketing and brand management strategies. Today on KISC My Health, Stephen is joined by guest host Peter Mingils. Make sure you check out previous KISC My Health episodes at www.buildingfortunesradio.com or KISCMyHealth.com. Along with our marketing partners, we are here to help our customers improve their health, build their businesses, and make the world a better place. At KISC My Health, we know how much your health and your business means to you and the people important to you. So spread the word, tell another friend, join our newsletter, and go make a difference in your world. Now, on to our show with your hosts, Captain Cran Man and Peter Mingils. Take it away, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingils here. You are listening to us on KISC My Health, a radio show that we post up on KISCMyHealth.com. For those people that aren't familiar with my voice, because you might hear it for the first time, my name is Peter Mingils. We host this radio show. This is actually Stephen Lukawski's KISC My Health radio show. I'm kind of like a co-host here, and I always like to tell people how it got started, because one of the curious things about the title is the word KISC, K-I-S-C. So here's how it all started. Many years ago, I started Building Fortunes Radio, so buildingfortunesradio.com. There was a gentleman that was a guest speaker, because I knew I couldn't host all the shows myself. It would get kind of boring. So we had a great guest speaker. His name was attorney Jim Turner. He was over in Washington, D.C. He was originally a Ralph Nader Raider, so he's an older gentleman, and he was working with an organization called Citizens for Health. Citizens.org is still their domain name. And Jim and I did about a decade of radio shows every Friday at noon Eastern Time for Citizens for Health. And he was an amazing man with a wonderful background and worked on things like natural product definitions and DSHEA and a whole bunch of other stuff, and super duper smart. He wrote a book called The Chemical Feast, and we did, like I said, a decade's worth of radio shows until he suddenly passed away in January of 2022. My heart was broken. I lost a mentor. He was a great source of a lot of things. We had a hole in the Friday at noon radio show segment, so I kept playing replays because I couldn't let it go. He was that much of a mentor for me and lots of other people as well. Well, I asked the people at Citizens to find me a replacement, and this is where this radio show kind of gets started. There was a gentleman named James Gormley who took over. He was the president of Citizens for Health. He was an author, a publisher, doing a whole bunch of really cool stuff, and we did a couple of radio shows starting in January of 2024, and after a few getting used to each other kind of radio shows, he asked me if he could have a guest, and now this is where this KISC My Health radio show starts warming up. He said, I want to invite a guest. I said, sure, go ahead. He's like, have you ever heard of Stephen Lukawski? I'm like, no, I'm not part of your world, and we do other things. And he said, well, he's known as like the King of Cranberries. I'm like, you got to give me another clue. I'm like, I still don't know. Captain Cran Man? I'm like, I'm not part of your world. Like, I don't get it. So he's like, oh, he's a gentleman that does cranberry stuff. And I'm like, well, bring him on. And I was like, okay, I'll learn a little bit about cranberries. Man, I learned a lot about cranberries when he was on the radio show, and I learned about natural ingredients, a whole bunch of cool stuff. I also learned that Stephen had a LinkedIn, so I joined his LinkedIn. Lukawski is Lukawski for those people that are looking. Stephen with a PH. And I joined, and over the next couple of months, I formed one of those social relationships, with Stephen Lukawski. I read his posts and saw he's a good guy and very creative. And then all of a sudden, in August of 2024, James Gormley suddenly passed away. So I did the right thing. I called people that I didn't, that I knew probably didn't know right away. And one of those people were Stephen. And Stephen I was already known because he was working with James Gormley. And, besides the shock that happens when stuff like that happens, we were talking and we said, we got to do a memorial because people like James Gormley need to be remembered. Died too young. And I said, I agree. And then somewhere in that conversation, I sprinkled in KISC. And that's where this kind of like comes full circle. KISC, for me, we were writing a book, which still isn't written yet because I'm too busy doing more important things. But KISC, for me, always stood for My Keep It Simple Circle. it's something that I train people on to kind of manage the distractions. So I said, KISC, and Stephen said, oh, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a KISC My Health Radio show. And I said, okay, because anything that Stephen's excited about, it's easy to get wrapped up into. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So he says, I'm going to interview some people, and we know a lot of people in the industry that are still alive and make a measurable difference, and we're going to do all this sort of stuff. And I said, okay, well, good. We'll get the domain name KISCMyHealth.com, KISC myhealth.com, and then we started doing these interviews, and we're over 100, like over 100 interviews, and I'll share with you, this is the best library of this kind of an audience that you will ever find. They are wonderful, impactful, beautiful people that do amazing things. Today is going to be another example of that, but I really just want to say thank you to corporate sponsors, past, present, and hopefully future, hint, hint. Then also, I want to say thanks to our listeners. We have passive and active listeners. Passive listeners just listen in. Active listeners are those that actually share this and do other stuff for us, and we appreciate that. And then certainly thank you to Stephen Lukawski, who, as Captain Cran Man, we would never be able to do any of this stuff from, because he's putting in the time and energy, and we're so looking forward to Planet Cranberry happening sometime soon, towards the end of the summer, early in the autumn. I can't wait. So you'll hear about that as we go along as well. But Stephen Lukawski, thanks for being here on your own radio show.
Hello, Peter, and thank you for the introduction. And to our listening audience out there, hello, and I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Can't wait for this interview to begin, because it's, again, another amazing interview where we take natural product leaders in our industry and we bring them to center stage. And we give them the opportunity as a North Star to shine their brightness onto all of us, because these are trailblazers. They are world changers, difference makers. They've gone the extra mile. They've actually sacrificed their own needs while helping others succeed. These people are what I would call legendary icon leaders. And they have earned, in my heart and on this radio show, the opportunity to share their career journey and success story with all of us. So, again, this show is not about products. It's not about companies. It's not about services. It's about people. People with giving hearts, the servant leaders who have been asked to go out there and shine on this, industry, their talent, but also to uplift and to give hope and inspiration and courage and become a role model to help the younger generations follow their footsteps while creating their own. And our past sponsors and our current ones, I thank them so much. For without their support, this show, not for profit, would not be possible. We have Pure Organic Sweeteners, the leading sweetener company in the organic space, right, since 2008 as one of our sponsors. We had RFI Ingredients, again, right there, helping us with the show. We have Heather Weiner and the Charlie's Angels at Whole Foods Magazine. They've been there right from the beginning, promoting and sponsoring the show, allowing these natural product leaders, the 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever they give us of their time, to be able to share the rest of the world what they've accomplished and their achievements, their setbacks, their challenges, and how they overcame, whether personal or professional adversity issues. And so we thank Heather Weiner and the Whole Foods Magazine team, and we are ready to begin, Peter. So, but before I make the introduction of our next guest, let's break for a commercial.
Here we go.
You've been listening to the KISC My Health Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio and the Humongous Radio Network. If you are interested in the world's best AI receptionist and AI business building platform, you will want to get your AI receptionist from Humongous.com. Go to the specials page on Humongous.com. That's YOUMONGUS.com/specials. Explore how small business owners and major corporations are using Humongous AI receptionists to do everything from answering incoming calls to scheduling appointments and even answering customer service questions. Your AI receptionist can do everything from making sure you never miss a call
to texting reminders and follow-ups, and even upgrading and closing more sales. Your AI receptionists will help you increase your productivity in just about everything. KISC My Health Radio suggests you have to check them out on the specials page on youmongus.com. That's youmongus.com/specials. You can make your world a better place and help others do the same with the AI receptionists at youmongus.com. Now, back to our KISC My Health Radio show. Take it away, Peter.
And we are back. Peter Mingils here, and I am so happy that you were here, but I think I played the wrong commercial, so we're going to do the other one later. So we'll be back after that. So Stephen Lukawski, thanks for listening in, and thanks for being here, and thanks for kicking this off.
Yeah. That's a great radio commercial. I love it. We have to talk
It's a great radio
commercial.
It's a great radio commercial, but it was the wrong one.
Yeah, about this AI. I don't have an AI assistant. I like to figure out how you have one.
We will show you how. Well, in reference to what, not to get too distracted, but you will definitely make sure you have one when Planet Cranberry launches for sure.
All right, great. Okay, well, let's get right back to our show. Welcome back to our listeners. And let me share with you this Cran Extraordinary interview we're going to have. The interview we're taking place today is with Dana Buckman. Dana, welcome to the show, KISC My Health.
Thank you, Stephen Peter, for having me on your show. I've heard a few of your episodes from past guests, and it's such an honor to be on your show today.
Well, thank you, Dana, for making the time, because we know how, you're in the world of probiotics, you're being pulled in so many different directions, and we thank you for the great work that you are doing in the natural product industry. For those who don't know who Dana is, Dana's built a distinguished career by applying more than 30 years of expertise in flow cytometry, from cancer and autoimmune research to the probiotic and microbiome industries. As a founder and CEO of Bioform Solutions, she's helped bridge the gap between clinical research and practical microbial applications, while advancing the use of flow cytometry as an alternative to traditional probiotic testing methods. She holds a dual bachelor's degree in biochemistry and molecular, cellular, and development biology from the University of Colorado, and previously served as a senior scientist with CancerVac, Serena Pharmaceuticals, and Pfizer, before founding Bioform Solutions. So, wow, I think, Peter, Dana is our first scientist on board in the natural product industry that we've interviewed.
Wow. Well, we have had let's see, we did have Christy from Amway. She was a
that's
formulator.
right. Yeah. Well, maybe it was a food scientist though. This is an actual scientist.
Wow.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. So, Dana, I'm just gonna, let the industry know, that the show itself, we don't talk about products or services. We talk about people, and I just wanna find out more about who you are, what you've done. I want to know more about Bioform Solutions, of course, but I just want to know what you picked an interesting pathway. All right, when you talk about, you're talking about flow, cytometry. I have no idea what that word means. So maybe you could start right there and help our listening audience understand what you do for a living.
Great. Well, I guess I could start from the beginning in how I chose this path. Or I can talk about flow cytometry as well. It really depends on.
Let's start what you do every day right now, and then we'll go back to your upbringing, and let's just understand what you do today, right now.
Okay, so flow cytometry is the understanding of single cell. So it's a single cell analysis tool to help us understand what is happening within each cell. It uses lasers and dyes to look at the individual cells and try to understand everything that's happening inside of that cell. I began in this industry using flow cytometry to understand cancer cells within different models, and it moved into probiotics. Someone had asked me if I could look at the health of a probiotic using flow cytometry, and I thought, oh, I can easily do this. And boy, that changed my whole world. In the cancer research space, there's a lot of tools available, but in the microbiome world, the tools just aren't there. So we have to create them. So that's why I ended up starting Bioform Solutions back in 2014. We were called something else at the time and switched in 2016 to Bioform Solutions. And we offer a service to manufacturers and different companies to understand the health of their probiotic. Are they surviving all the different pieces of the life cycle within the probiotic space? So does it survive fermentation? Does it survive packaging and processing? Or does it even survive the gut? So those are all different pieces. We help manufacturers to understand what is happening to their particular probiotic. And we've recently gotten into strain selection. So we're doing droplet digital PCR, which looks at the individual strains within a product, and I can look at the health of each of those products as well. So it's just evolving new tools for this space.
So can you identify, you can create authenticity, do authenticity testing on strains?
So that's what we're doing now with the DDPCR, the droplet digital PCR. So it uses primers that can see each individual strain within a mix, and then I can count them, each individual strain, and I can look at the health of them. So it's very powerful.
Okay, cool. All right, this is interesting because we had Purity IQ Delio on, right? Yeah, onto our show, and Delio, if you're listening out there, great job you're doing over there in Canada with Purity IQ. And the world of probiotics and beyond, in the world of botanicals. Right? Can you explain what they do versus what you do, so our listening audience can understand the difference?
So they're looking at a lot of the contaminants within the probiotics. They're making sure that they're what they say they are. So they're doing a lot of identity as well. They don't do the health of the probiotic like we do. We use flow cytometry to look at the health. But they are looking for contaminants. They're making sure that the product itself is safe.
Okay. So we all know no two strains are the same in the world of probiotics, right? And when it comes to women's health, let's just talk about that for a second. You know me, Captain Cran Man, trying to save the world one UTI at a time, right? but also going beyond that into the world of gut health and using cranberry in that space. But is there one particular strain that you like in that area when it comes to women's health?
Everyone's different. That's the one thing I've learned in this space, is that we all have different microbiomes, and that develops early on in life. I'm an immunologist by training, and I always look at everything through the eyes of an immunologist. How do our immune system deal with these commensals? Are they going to keep them, which is the idea of the commensal, or are they going to kill them? So that was my question when I first got into this industry, is why do we have to take probiotics every day? And the reason is that our immune system is going to kill what is not naturally in our body that's developed early on, or is it going to allow it to come in and do a job and get flushed out? So that's really our immune system trying to figure out good versus bad, and it develops early on in life. So really all of this comes down to finding out what your actual microbiome is versus someone else. We may take the same probiotic, but they're going to be different ones that are going to do different things for us, because we may or may not have the ability to keep that in our body versus having it come in and get flushed out.
So you're saying that, when we see these strains being promoted, what may work for one may not work for the other person?
Absolutely. Yep. It's very personal.
So even though they have clinical research and studies done on a group
of
people?
The research study, absolutely. So the research studies, that's one thing I've learned in the cancer research space, is everyone's going to react differently to a different drug. And now we're learning that the microbiome is very involved in all of that as well. Different bacteria are going to help break down the drugs differently. They're going to break down foods differently, which create a different environment so we can process the drugs and get rid of the different diseases. And that's really where my interest lies, is how do we help people to get a better response to the different drugs to make them healthier.
Yeah, no, I just, being from Canada, and, it's funny, we look at our medical system in Canada versus the U.S., and, For me, I try to be proactive. I try to stay away from any pharmaceutical, all right, drugs. And but when it comes to high blood pressure or cholesterol, we all need help in that area, right? I think that's important. But I also think that you got to have probiotics. I truly believe have played such an important role, right, in the area of gut health for me, right? And even digestive enzymes, for example, right? But I do know one thing that not all probiotics survive the gut, right? The stomach, right? And have you noticed that in the industry that certain probiotic strains?
Yes, there's actually what they're calling a postbiotic is becoming very popular because they're finding that heat-killed probiotics actually can have, some of them can actually have the same health effect that a live cell has. And that has to do with their different proteins on the surface or within the cell that binds receptors within the gut and can have the same health benefits that a live cell has. So postbiotics are dead cells, dead probiotics, and they can still have that health benefit.
Isn't that interesting? In the world of cranberry, I've explored. We've worked with Sabinza in the past. With cranberry as a prebiotic, as a food source. All right, feeding the probiotic strain Bacillus coagulus, and to make it more hardy versus FOS or inulin. And so for those out there, there's polyphenols of the fruits that can certainly act as a carbon and a nitrogen source. Right, and fuel those probiotics, certain probiotic strains. In the world of Bacillus coagulans, are all Bacillus coagulans the same?
No,
it's a spore, right?
It is. It's a spore former, but there are a lot of different types of spores as well. And Bacillus coagulans is just down to the species level. There's also strains. So the strain level is what has the health benefit, and they're all different.
Interesting. Yeah, my one friend, they have a patented time-release technology, Vantis Innovations out of Canada, and they've got patents around the world, for certain molecules, biomolecules, to provide a sustained release over 8 hours. And they've worked with probiotics, and they show us that a lot of strains don't survive, right? The gastric, and they need protected, right? Because there's a lot of probiotics out there that are being marketed that may not survive the stomach. Is this true?
That is absolutely true. There's companies trying to find ways to keep them protected as much as they can so that they can survive the gut. And a lot of that has to do with how much do they have to overfill to make sure that they have enough at the end to do their job. But that takes a lot of different things. There's ways to protect the cells in microencapsulation or in the type of capsules that they put them in. Do they seal properly? Do they not allow the gut fluids to get in? Do they allow moisture to get in? Because even moisture can kill the cells. The health of the probiotic has many different factors to it. So at my company, we test all these different pieces, and we could do that in a stepwise fashion. So we can help companies to make decisions on how to protect the cells and keep them as healthy as possible through the whole gut.
Yeah, I've looked at this technology, and it's just fascinating. The cost per daily doses, I think it was less than 1 cent, versus the beadless and the caplet, the capsules out there, right? But I look at the technology to delivery, time-release delivery systems out there for probiotics. I think is going to be the next best thing out there. And of course, there's probably other different ingredients out there that have a half shelf life that will be beneficial for certain, time-release deliveries. But with respect to the strains that you can identify, right, and through this, your PCR, right? Is that what you call it? A PCR?
Correct.
And this is something new that you have discovered recently that you just brought into your company?
Yes. So this technology has been around since about 2015. It started. My knowledge of it started with DuPont back in 2015, but it wasn't a technology that was available for everyone. So 2 years ago, I invested in this technology because I find that the getting down to the strain level is where we need to go. This is our future. Yeah. We need to know how many of a particular strain is in a mix and how many have survived. So I think this is our future. That's why I invested in it, so we can get down to the strain level.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you to help me, all right, with one of the, the strain, with your technology, what you have done, and working with the cranberry, all right, and being able to bring out the best probiotic strain, even though it's not going to work for everybody. That's what you just said. Not every strain is going to work. Yep. All right, so it's really it's until you find something. So even though if I do research on the study of a particular probiotic strain in cranberry, for example, it's great to have, but it validates, all right, that cranberry does something, but it's not going to work for everyone out there.
I think it's a matter of whether it's going to survive in the gut. So how long do we need? Do we need to take it daily to be able to come in and break foods down? So that's what they're doing. They're breaking different things down in our body that we don't naturally have. So normally we have our natural commensals, which can be thrown off by antibiotics or different food that we eat. So when we need to replenish that, then we can come back in and feed it some natural probiotics from yogurts and things like that. But if we're having some health problem that we need some help with, we can take a probiotic that comes in and does a job and gets flushed out. So I think it's going to come down to personalized probiotics in the long run. But initially, if someone asks me, which probiotic should I take? And I always tell them, take the one with the most strains in there, because at least one is going to come in there and do a job for you. They may not all come and repopulate your probiotics within your gut, but they may come in and do a job that you don't have something that can do. So taking one with the most strains, and that gives you the option of having something in there that is going to do a job you need.
Yeah, and I find that fascinating, and you're right. You're an educator, facilitator also, and and we had we've had another guest on the other day, and he said that you want to have a product come out in the market. If you're going to put your name behind the company and you're going to build the company, you want to make sure that anybody in your family that you truly love, you want them to have this product. You want them to be able to take this product that you can trust and depend on. So that's great. Let's move now into let's go back to where you're.
Can I jump in? Can I jump in for one quick second? Because this conversation is very intriguing. So, Dana, how do these things get where they are originally? So, we're replacing them, as you're mentioning, and trying to figure out best ways to get them there. But how did these organisms or things get in your gut to start off with?
Well, that comes in with childhood, actually within the mother. So you get your natural commensals, good bacteria, start with your mother, and then it depends on the type of birth that you have, whether it's a natural birth or C-section, that changes your microbiome as well, because where those bacteria are within your mother is going to be in your body developing, and even whether you breastfeed or get bottle fed, that will change your microbiome as well, because it's what you're being exposed to. They've shown studies that have shown people that grow up with animals versus sterile environments that are very, very cold, like up in the north, their microenvironments are very different. So they're going to have different bacteria growing in your body. And that early stage of development is going to tell the immune system what is allowed and what isn't. So that's where that microbiome is going to be so different depending on where you grew up and depending on the type of birth you have, what type of environment you have, whether it's with animals or not. It makes such a difference early on in life. So it's really individual. It depends on many, many aspects, even within the same family.
Well, thank you. Good, Stephen. I just had to ask that question because I found this fascinating.
Yeah, no, I'm fascinated by this whole topic area because Dana's coming right out with the gloves off, and saying, not all probiotics are going to work for you. All right, it's up to the individual, and there's certain probiotic strains that won't pass the stomach. They die off, right? And so the question is, for the consumer, right, which probiotic products can you trust out there? Exactly. At the end of the day. And that's another conversation, another show. All right, but because I want to know all about Dana and her life and how she got where she is today. Right? A star has been born in the probiotic industry, and I got to give gratitude to your parents, because if you were, they weren't there, you wouldn't be here, right?
Exactly.
So where were you born, and tell us a little bit what your childhood was like.
Oh, great. So I was born in Colorado on a farm. My mom, I was thinking about that earlier. So I grew up with raising horses. So my mom, she raised Arabians. And so I grew up with riding horses, and my mom is a natural teacher, so she loved to teach horse riding lessons, and she also taught gymnastics, and she was a teacher in school. She taught music, and anything you could think of, she teaches. So I found that I'm actually a combination of both of my parents, which we all are. My mom is a natural teacher, and I love to teach. I didn't learn that until later in life, but I really love that. And my father was a trained accountant, so I'm really good with numbers, but he also became an entrepreneur. So I saw a lot of that coming in me as well. So it's really interesting to see how I've grown to be pieces of both of my parents and where I've come. But in growing up on a farm, I was always fascinated in the biology and how genetics can affect so many different things in life and how parenting and behavior, and it's just incredible. I had always wanted to be a doctor early on in life, and then I got introduced to genetics and immunology, and that really spurred where I moved to. I went to school in Boulder, of course, and I got a couple different degrees there, but then I started working on the East Coast at a couple different cancer research companies, and I got introduced to flow cytometry, and again, that is where we're looking at individual cells using lasers and dyes, and I learned in Howard Shapiro's lab, who is known as the god of flow cytometry. He passed away a few years ago, but he's an incredibly brilliant man. And that's where I learned flow cytometry over 30 years ago. And that really expanded who I am and where I'm going. I did a lot of research in the cancer space, a bit of autoimmune disease, but in this space, I got laid off a few times because of big companies, small companies. They just changed where they're moving or their funding. And so in my last time at a company in 2011, I got laid off. And my husband had said, well, why don't you just go teach? You love teaching. So I had a friend that had an instrument, a flow cytometer that was, it was small and I could put it in my car. So I would go teach with it. And it helped her because it gave a good name for the company. And it helped me because it helped me to be able to teach with it. But then someone asked me if I could do it for them because they didn't have the time and it was difficult, so I opened my own lab. So in 2012, I started a cancer research company, so I would do a lot of tumor work. So I would take these tumor models for different companies and I'd find rare cells within the tumors that are changing based on a drug treatment. So that was very exciting for me because that's where I thought I always wanted to be in helping in the cancer research space and helping to find the right treatments for different cancers. But then someone asked me if I could. Yeah, what was I here? Your dad is, your dad's an accountant. Your mom's, a math teacher. A teacher. My mom teaches English and music and so she retired. Of course, she's she's almost 80 now. She turns 80 next year. My dad just turned 80 this year. So she's a teacher. She teaches English in school, but she also teaches music, and then she teaches, of course, all summer long. It's horseback riding, and she taught skiing all winter time. And so she works with a lot of disabled people. So she helps deaf and blind people ride horses. It's incredible, the therapy. She does a lot of therapy through horseback riding. No, I think it's amazing how you you created your own pathway. Was there any scientists in the family before your mom, because your mom and dad are not? No, I'm the first scientist. Wow. So how did you know you wanted to be a scientist when you grew up? I've always known. Ever since I was little, I was just fascinated with how things work. It's just watching. I raised a lot of animals early on, and I watched the behavior of. I raised a lot of cats, a lot of horses. I had Himalayan cats that I would raise from birth. I would help them deliver, and I would sell them to other people who liked Himalayans. And so I would watch the mothers and their babies and seeing the behaviors. It was just fascinating to me. And of course, growing up on a farm, you see life and death all the way. So it always just amazed me how the body works and how the mind works in relation to it.
Oh, absolutely. And you want to tell us a little bit about like your mom and dad growing up, the values that they taught you at an early age that you brought into your own personal life and your work career?
Very interesting. My mom, they're both so different. And my mom, we never had much because we were growing up on a farm. We just did the best we could. But my parents split early on in life, and my dad always had more. So I lived with them at different points in my life. But it was just interesting to see the values I got from both of them. My father was always, you can always do better. You can always do better, which initially I was thinking, well, I am doing better. But it pushed me. It was great for me because it made me think that I can do more. No matter if I have 99% in the math class, it still wasn't good enough. I still could do more because he knew that I could push myself beyond what I initially thought I could do. So it was just fascinating to see that. And for my mom, she's just one of these social butterflies. Being a scientist, we're always in the lab, quiet, we don't talk to many people, a little bit here and there. But when I started my own company, it was challenging for me to step out beyond that. Then I realized I'm my mom's daughter. She could talk to anybody, so can I. So it really helps me to move into that space where I hadn't been as a scientist. So I think, again, being both parts of my parents helped me to be a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, did you always want to be an entrepreneur?
No, not at all. I never really saw myself being that way, but it comes from support. So after being in the biotech world for so many years and seeing the changes and being laid off so many times, my husband had said, well, why don't you start doing your own thing? And when I got that opportunity, I think it's just that support system that I had. I had some really great friends that I had seen that were doing amazing things in their lives, and they helped support me in doing what I was really good at. And I find if you're doing something you love, it's not work. You're really enjoying and sharing what you love with other people.
Yes, that is so true. It's a privilege when you start looking at it from that attitude.
Yeah.
And that we're blessed to be able to go out there and change lives and help people live longer and healthier, and that we're contributing and making an impact with what we do. And I think working on your own allows you to be ambitious, creative, and be able to challenge yourself every day, because you have to be determined, you have to be disciplined. You have to have that true grit when you run your own business, because nothing gets done unless you get it done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're the woman in the mirror. The only person you can fire is yourself. Right?
Yep, absolutely.
On there. So, but do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have one sister, one natural sister, and she was a teacher also. She just retired this past year. She lives in Colorado. And I have had two half brothers. I have one who's still with us and one who's not still with us. But yeah, they neither of them have been in science at all. They've taken their own paths.
Yes.
But that's the way it is.
So are you living in Colorado or are you in San Diego?
Good question. My lab's in San Diego. I started this so we've been in this space for about 5 years, and then we were in another space about 5 years before that. I've had a really great lab tech that's been with me. She's my lab manager. She's been with me 8 years, and I found that it's actually more disruptive by my being in the lab than my not being around. So I ended up just staying home and doing the data analysis at home, and I moved up to Northern California to try and build a house. And then COVID happened, and it shut everything down. So my husband and I were thinking, if we can both work from anywhere we want, first thing we thought is Hawaii, of course. And because of the time zone, we ended up deciding on Costa Rica. So 4.5 years ago, we moved to Costa Rica, and that's where I spend most of my time. I come back and forth for different meetings and for different things that are going on at the lab, but I spend, again, most of my time in Costa Rica.
Peter, are you hearing this? Costa Rica is where she's living and working. What are we doing wrong? It's amazing.
She mentioned that to me when we first started the radio show. What a wonderful place.
It is. It's not for everyone. It's a very different environment, but I absolutely love it. I wake up in the morning and I got lucky. I found a place that's on the water. So I can go paddleboard with my dog to the islands. It's just an amazing way to start the day. And then I come back and I have my lab tech send me the data. I talk to customers. It's just such a beautiful life.
Sounds like you're living the dream.
Yes, absolutely.
That's beautiful. And and your parents must be so proud of you, not to mention your sister.
My mom actually comes and stays with me from January to March. So she comes because in Colorado, her job, she takes care of other people's farms when they go on vacation. Because how do you go on vacation if you have a head of cattle or sheep? So that's what she does throughout a lot of the season. And then January to March is her slow time, so she comes and stays with me in Costa Rica. Although this year we just bought a condo in Florida, so that way she could go stay from January to March there, because she's a social butterfly. She really needs to have people, and in Costa Rica, it's just us. And she doesn't speak Spanish, so it's very hard for her. So I think she's really excited to be staying in Florida. She called me last week saying she's ready to go. She's getting her car ready. I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't even signed the papers yet. She's so funny, such a social butterfly.
Wow, and you're looking after your mom too. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Is your dad able to travel?
My dad, he got diagnosed with Parkinson's, and so in 2020 he had a kidney transplant. So he was always on dialysis for many years, and so he had a transplant in 2020, and then I think a year later he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. So he's been he's been doing okay, but he's been progressively getting worse. So they moved out to North Carolina this is my stepmom and my dad. She takes care of him on a daily basis. And so she needed some extra help. So they moved closer to her family. And so I talk to him and see him maybe once a year. Well, I talk to him more often than as much as I can, but he's not always mentally there. So she helps him guide him in the conversations. But I think he's still going to be with us, hopefully a couple more years. So I plan to go visit him again this year when I can. He just turned 80, so my sister was out there for his 80th birthday. But because of his environment, it's better to have one or two people there and not many. So I'm going to come see him again, probably in September.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about your father, and and for all those fathers out there that are going through Parkinson's and. It's unfortunate, and but I'm glad there's a loving family behind him, and that you're there, and thank you for stepping in and looking after your mom and dad. And
of course.
It's such a beautiful world when we can be able to give back. It's a full circle when it comes to family. That's for sure.
It is. It really is.
So now let's talk about your educational journey. Let's obviously from public school to high school. You want to talk a little bit about your high school and what you learned from that sort of got you into your choice of universities, like University of Colorado?
Yeah. Well, I grew up all over Colorado, so we lived in many different places throughout Colorado. But I went to high school in Denver, in a suburb of Denver in Aurora, and I got introduced to genetics and immunology, and that really turned everything for me. I originally thought I was going to be a doctor, be an MD, but the cancer research in the genetic space really fascinated me. So I ended up going to CU in Boulder, and I started just in the molecular cellular developmental biology, and immunology just amazed me there. So that really pushed my path. I was going to be a genetic engineer, and I was thinking along the MD PhD path. Then I had a son, and my son was very important to me. So I ended up taking a job in a lab on the East Coast, closer to his father, and that just turned everything for me. Again, being an MD PhD would have meant working with terminal patients, and that is really hard to do because those patients have been through many different treatments, so there's not a lot to be able to help them. So working earlier in the stages in the lab was what I really loved. So being able to help patients earlier than what they've already been through all these different treatments and not survived. So that was where I ended up moving towards the genetic engineering. But I worked with a company in Boston, and that's really where my flow cytometry came in. I was developing antibodies against fetal cells. So our plan was to take maternal blood and pull fetal cells out of maternal blood as an alternative to amniocentesis, because the procedure in itself has a high rate of miscarriage. So by having a blood test, we were able to reduce that risk. So it was very fascinating. That's how I got started with flow cytometry, is with sorting those cells. So I developed antibodies against these fetal cells, and then we pull them out of maternal blood by sorting them. So it's very interesting. And then looking at them under the microscopes, I did a lot of work in the dark, fluorescent microscopy. So it was just very fascinating. But that's really where my path came, and it started early with the early understanding of how genes can affect everything, but it's a combination of genes and environment. So that's really where a lot of my path moved, seeing how we can change the treatments for patients. So every patient is different. They're even within the same group. I worked with a lot of different cancer companies. I think I've only had 2 drugs on the market throughout my career, and that's because everyone is different. Those microenvironments are very different within a tumor, and a lot of that now they're finding is the microbiome. In a metastatic tumor, it's completely different than a benign tumor. And so what is it? It's like the chicken and the egg. Did the environment bring in the bacteria, or did the bacteria create this environment? So I think we're still at the cusp of understanding where things are moving.
Yeah, very interesting. So can I ask you what sparked your interest in science right away at such an early age?
I think it was growing up with animals. I grew up with a lot of horses and growing up on a farm. I think that's really where I was fascinated. Again, growing up on a farm, you are raised with life and death. We had 2 turkeys that are called Thanksgiving and Christmas. Not very nice, but so I saw life and death throughout my childhood.
Yeah, interesting how growing on a farm, it connects with science.
It's all related.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So your mom's a math teacher, all right? And I know she probably had a great impact on your career. Is there anybody, other teacher or professor that had an impact on your career?
I had some great teachers throughout my education, but I think they all had an impact on where I went. But even in middle school, I had an amazing science teacher who really pushed me along the path of genetics. It was just, again, it's a combination of all these people that pushed me to who I am. I think of life as an experiment. We're always trying different things, and nothing is good or bad. We just gotta, if we didn't learn from it, then we got to start all over again and try a new experiment. So I think it's a combination of everyone that has made me who I am.
Yes, yeah, and okay. So tell us about your very first job that you had.
My first job out of college. Well, my first job out of college, I worked for a drug company. So I had moved to the East Coast with my son, and I went for a temp job, and immediately they offered me a permanent position because they saw where I could help them. And I created phage display libraries. These are bacterial viruses that we could manipulate and display different things on them to understand different antibodies that we were looking at. We had an antibody drug that we're using to target different tumors in different patients, and we were trying to understand what was going on within those different patients. So that really moved me to understand where that fit in my path, what my interest was. I originally thought I was going to do genetics, but the immunology part was what fascinated me, and that's where I moved into making antibodies using phage. So I use antibody phage display libraries to try and discover different antibodies that can help me pull those fetal cells out of maternal blood, and that's really where my path moved.
Interesting. Yeah, wow. All right, so what inspired you to found Bioform Solutions then?
Well, in 2014, someone had heard that I was looking at phage killing of bacteria using flow cytometry, and they asked me if I could look at the health of a probiotic, and that changed everything. Again, I said I was doing tumor work with a lot of different companies. So a CRO is a contract research organization, and that's basically what I became for other companies because my expertise was in flow cytometry and multicolor flow. I would look at 10, 12 different proteins on the surface of a cell to understand if we're changing that cell type. They had different signature markers on them. And then when someone asked me if I could look at the health of a probiotic, I thought this would be easy, and boy, that changed everything. And that was because the tools just were not available at the time. So I wanted to create those tools, and that's why I created Bioform Solutions, because the tools just were not available in this space. For immunology, I could go to a company and buy any antibody I wanted with any color I wanted, but in the microbiome space, there just was not the tools out there. So I wanted to be part of creating the tools that we need to understand this area.
And that's okay. So that's a great answer because you found a need in the industry, right? And you found a solution.
Absolutely. And we're still going.
I think that yeah, and it's still going, and it's going strong. And probiotics are the future, right? And you just mentioned postbiotics, and of course prebiotics. Yep. And so can your tools work in the world of postbiotics and prebiotics?
Absolutely. Well, prebiotics are the food for probiotics. Then you have the probiotics, which are the live bacteria. That's the definition of a probiotic. And postbiotics just got a new redefinition. It's metabolites and heat-killed bacteria. And it's because those heat-killed bacteria still have the proteins within them that can trigger a different pathway. So a lot of postbiotics still have a health benefit because there are proteins that can trigger a certain pathway that is going on within the body. One of the bigger things recently has been in the space of GLP-1 in the diet space. So everyone's getting on board, and they are showing that a lot of these probiotics that have that same health benefit that you're seeing with the GLP-1 drugs don't have the side effects. So it's really exploding. And they have found that even these heat-killed probiotics in that GLP-1 space, they can still have that health benefit. So they don't have to worry about keeping them alive because a lot of these bacteria are anaerobes, which mean they can't survive in oxygen. They die very quickly when exposed to oxygen. So that's where a lot of our technology can help with this area because it's very fast. Our assay takes 15 minutes so we work with this clinical lab. So the time it comes out of the refrigerator to the time it's on the instrument takes 15 minutes. So we mark everything. But they die pretty rapidly. So that's why our technology is so good in the space, because we can see everything very quickly. If you're trying to test it in other methods with CFU as a colony forming unit, which is the methods that's been used for decades, it's been well known, but it misses a lot of information, and if you have to try and grow them in an environment without oxygen, it makes things very difficult. So I see them all as complementary assays. You have CFU, which is colony forming units. You have flow cytometry with AFU, active fluorescent units, and then you have the ddPCR, which gives you the strain identity. So I see them all as being complementary pieces of information about probiotics, and that's really where we are moving. I outsource the CFUs because CFU, it's very challenging to do to get really good accuracy, and I'd like to work with a lab that gives great counts on that. So I outsource that piece, but in my own lab, my expertise is flow cytometry, so I want to do all the flow here, and now moving into the ddPCR, that's really where we're moving as well.
Interesting. Wow. Okay, so now let's talk about something that I find very well. Let's go back a little bit. You said that you find out that they're healthy to begin with. These strains. You have it through your testing, right? How can you protect these strains then? What's the next step? Do you have tools in place to help protect them?
So I don't in my lab. So I test. I help companies to figure out what they need to do. So we can do spike testing. I can take ingredients and put bacteria in different things and check them and see which one's affecting their health. I can help companies to pick the right capsule to make sure that they're protecting them all the way through the gut. I can help companies see if they're surviving stomach acid. I can do many different pieces, but we only do the testing in my lab. We don't do those extra parts. Those come from the companies themselves.
Yeah, well, you are actually protecting the probiotic industry as a whole here with your technology.
I'm trying to. And it's all about accountability as well. So we really want to help make companies accountable so that customers can feel confident in what they're buying.
Yeah. No, this is great because it complements what Purity IQ is doing too, right?
Absolutely.
And I know that they're making headway, and so are you. And I think the companies the good companies, the good actors, the good players, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're the ones that wanted to partner with you, and the other ones, they know, all right, that you can call them out, right, with your technology.
Yes. I think that's really where we're moving to make sure, especially down to the strain level. Instead of overfilling with a cheap probiotic, they're going to actually need to show that they have all the probiotics in there that they claim is there.
Good. You can help me select the strain, all right, to go with the cranberry for Planet Cranberry then. Mm-hmm. That's what we're going to do. Because I want a product that's efficacious, safe, pure, authentic, and consistent. Right? And but we know that not everyone is going to react the same way.
Yes.
But at least we know at the start we have efficacy.
Yes.
And I think that's important. All right. And now, what do you feel about as the time of manufacturing, all right, versus when it comes to stability here? Because are these strains stable?
So that really depends. So that's what they say on most packages of a probiotic. They say at time of manufacture, they put in a certain amount of live bacteria, and that's what they used to only be able to do. But now there's so many different ways to understand, especially now we're moving into the strain identity. So which ones survive the processing and packaging and shelf life. We had a customer that came to us with a product that sat on the dock in Arizona at 120 degrees, and they needed to make sure that they didn't have to throw them out. Because we are the only company that can do same-day testing, they were able to make decisions quickly and save a lot of money by keeping some of their products and not having to throw it all out. So that's really where I think a lot of companies are starting to move towards. They have to make decisions quickly, so they're working with us in that space.
Interesting. I'm going to connect you. You probably already know. RFI. RFI ingredients in Colorado.
I don't.
Okay. So RFI ingredients, right? I was just reading this. They have they just signed a contract with a company called Aventis Innovations, and for time release technology, and it's a powdered combination. It's the powders combined, say, with probiotics, and it creates a gelatin in a capsule, and then it gets slowly released. And so they are doing the encapsulation, all right, and product development and formulation with the time release. And I know that they're right now looking in the field of probiotics and time releasing probiotics. And because we're right now, I think they're looking to advance beyond probiotics, but that technology from Aventis Innovations is game changing in the industry. So I truly believe that once the industry finds out that certain strains can be survive and have stability, all right, through that technology, and with your with your work that you do to identify that. Right, and to be able to validate that's important. All right, out there. Yeah, so I'll make that connection for you.
Thank you.
But see, with me, I'm coming out with this Planet Cranberry for myself, and putting my name behind it at least to help educate consumers. that not all probiotics are the same, that not all cranberry is the same, that not all magnesium is the same. And but it's going to be cranberry with everything, right? Because every day everyone should be taking cranberry, just like probiotics. And and so I just want the best. I want my mother to be able to buy this. I want the best products to go to my mom. Like I think that way, right? I want to formulate something that's healthy for her, right? So, and because if you don't believe in what you're producing, right, then you shouldn't be doing it at all.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, there. So, so let's look at innovation and leadership. Well, actually, before we do that, Peter, maybe we'll just break for a quick commercial, then we'll come back to Dana here on innovation and leadership.
We certainly can. And as I'm getting ready to launch this commercial, I have a question for Dana. Dana, it sounds as if, and I'm a layperson here, so I might have a biology degree, but it's been a long time. I wouldn't pass any of those biology tests. It's been a long time. But it seems like if you wanted something to somehow pass the stomach, you would just you guys probably know how to do that stuff. I would imagine, right? You can put it in something that doesn't dissolve as quickly and gets to the places near it needs to be where it dissolves. I think they do that with pharmaceuticals probably. And is that a solution that they're working on or is already in place?
Yes, there are companies doing many different things. Again, I do the testing, so I see what people are doing, but I don't know a lot of the chemistry behind what they're doing. So, and a lot of it's proprietary, so I can't share it with others. But they're definitely moving in that pathway. They have to. They have to find ways to keep this. If they say they have a live probiotic, they better have a live probiotic. And does it survive the gut? Does it survive all the way to where it needs to go in the lower intestine? They need to show that they can do that. So I definitely think it's moving in that right path.
Excellent. Okay, good. Well, we're going to take a quickie commercial break. I think I got the right one for you, Stephen. So here we go. Planet Cranberry.
You've been listening to the KISC My Health Radio show on Building Fortunes Radio and the Humongous Radio Network. This KISC My Health Radio show is also available on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, as well as dozens of other platforms connected to the Internet. If you are interested in the world's best cranberry product line, you will want to get your products from Captain Cran Man himself, Stephen Lukawski, from Planet Cranberry on planetcranberry.com. The website will be online before the end of the summer in 2026. Start your ordering and your inquiring about Planet Cranberry now by contacting Stephen on LinkedIn or by phone or text. The King of Cranberries, Stephen Lukawski, has always been your best source of products and information. So now it's time to get your products from Planet Cranberry directly. With Planet Cranberry and Stephen Lukawski, you can make your world a better place and help others do the same. Now, back to our KISC My Health Radio show. Take it away, Peter.
And we are back with Dana, and we are here with Stephen Lukawski. This is a fascinating conversation, Stephen. And Dana, thank you so much for being here. And one last thing, with technology the way it's going, I could see like somebody making me a QR code, like I am the QR code, and then I just kind of send it to you, and your scientists figure out how my QR code works with your products, and you ship me what I need for me, not necessarily what everybody gets. Is that going to be the general direction you think that nutrition or supplements and stuff like this might eventually go to?
I do think that's the case. I have seen some companies try to move in that direction. It just depends on, and I've seen them come and go, unfortunately, but I think it depends on where the market is and where it's going to be ready to be. Now we're getting better tools to go in that direction of understanding what is happening within everyone and why it's so different. So getting stool samples sent, and Rob Knight's lab in here in San Diego is creating the biggest library of samples, and they're trying to understand what's making us all different and why different medications are going to work with one person versus another. So I really do think this is where we need to go. There was a few companies that I've seen that can take a stool sample and understand what is in that person, and they were creating a probiotic mixture to help with different health benefits that they had some issues with, but they at the time that just wasn't ready for that space. So I think really we need to move in that direction.
Excellent. So Stephen, if I was going to be a lab technician, I'd be working from home, as well if they start doing the stool sample thing. So.
Absolutely.
So, Stephen, back to you.
Thanks. I know yes, you're right. It has been a fascinating, conversation on the world of probiotics today. I'm learning something new here, and I know the industry needs to do a better job, obviously, in protecting the strains and getting it through the system. All right, so through the gas, through the stomach, right? Obviously, and having gastric protection, right? But also identifying the strains and see if they're healthy to begin with. And so once again, thank you for the work that you're doing in that field. I appreciate that, Dana. So you have built a company now. How many people in the company?
4. We're small, so we.
Okay.
All right.
Small and mighty. All right.
Yes,
Small and mighty.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So we got 4 people, and you're changing the world. All right. So this is great. How would your employees, the people that are working with you, describe your leadership style?
I am very hands-off. I want to hire correctly, hire someone that I can count on, and I'm not going to tell them what to do. I know there are certain things that need done, and I want to rely on them to do what needs to be done. And I've been very lucky to be able to have the team that I have. So I think that's my management style. I do not want to micromanage. I don't want to tell them what to do. So that's what I would like throughout my career, and so that's what I want to be as a leader.
Okay, so you don't want to micromanage. All right. Well, how's your flow of communication? So 4 people, but you have weekly meetings, daily meetings? How do you now generate? Are you doing all the sales? All right. So how are you delegating?
So I have a couple people that work with me on the marketing and sales, and that is all part-time because a lot of that is we're not as large to have a full-time marketing and sales team. So, but the lab work is done daily. That's done by my lab manager. Excuse me. And because I live in Costa Rica, we communicate daily. Like I said, in Costa Rica, we're either 1 or 2 hour time difference. So I'll go out and I'll paddle for an hour or 2 in the morning, and by the time I come back, my lab tech's in the lab getting things ready to go. So it's always communication by teams. That's really our best communicator. I live in an area, we use Starlink, so we have really great service, so it's always on. And I have Teams meetings with people quite often. So I've even hired using Teams, which is wonderful. So I'll have my Teams interviews, and then I have a business partner and my marketing woman that will come in and meet with the lab techs, and then we're able to make decisions based on those interactions. So my communication is on a daily basis. I'm always in front of my computer, and I have access to my teams at all times, and my team is always available to me as well.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this, leadership. A lot of, you're a small and mighty business. You're growing every day, right? Mm-hmm. How are you managing the people you work with to be a part of your company versus just a valued asset to your company?
Exactly. So that comes from hands off. My lab techs are the one manager, I guess, she manages everything here for me. She was in QC. When she started with me, she did not know flow cytometry at all, but she's come to where she can troubleshoot anything because I don't tell her what to do. She figures it out. And she's the type of person who wants to be able to do it. So she is part of my family. She's an amazing person that I found over almost 8 years ago. So it's a matter of finding the right people and making sure that we communicate on a regular basis. So that way, if there's any issues at all, I can help, but I want them to do it on their own.
Yeah, no, that's great. Because it's really hard to find good salespeople out there, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
But it also, in this case, has to be technical.
Yes,
Right?
yes, and that's always been hard for me, is to try and find someone who can do the work, who's going to be, again, invested in us as a growing company. We are right now looking for someone else to help in the lab, because the droplet digital PCR is the next coming thing, and we have to be able to scale with it. So I'm hiring a new lab technician to be able to help both with my lab tech here in the lab with the flow cytometry, and be able to scale with the ddPCR to be able to look at the strains of each probiotic mix.
Yeah. So you find businesses coming to you through word of mouth?
Yes, that's really where a big part of our business comes, is word of mouth. And that's part because the quality of the data that we generate is very high. I have done flow cytometry for over 30 years, and I've seen everything. And we've tested so many different probiotics in our space, including sunscreen and kombuchas and dog food. We test all kinds of different things. So I've seen a lot. I'm still going to see new ones that are coming all the time, but I've had a lot of experience testing over 15,000 different products. And so it's easy for me to see those things. So that's why we continue to get return business and a lot of word of mouth referrals, because we have really good quality data, and the communication and the time is very fast. The turnaround time, again, is same day, 24 or 48 hours.
Right. So let's look at accomplishments. Looking back over your career so far, because your best years are still yet to come, right?
Yes.
What accomplishments makes you the most proudest at this point?
Good question. I think creating my own business has been a big accomplishment, and that comes from the people around me. So I don't know, what am I proud of? Everything. But that's because of, again, it's not just me. It's from all the people that have supported me and helped me along the way. And my teachers and guides, they've made me who I am. So I think creating this position, this job and this space to help in the industry has been a big part, and it's still growing, and I see it just developing more and more along this space. So yeah, is that my best accomplishment? I don't know. Again, there's more things to come.
Yes, absolutely. What has been your biggest professional challenge so far?
Biggest professional challenge? I think it's been in the industry. You hire on at different companies for different with different challenges they have. And I've been laid off 6 times during my career, and dealing with those changes. And now I understand it. As a business owner, you have to roll with where things are moving, where the funding's coming from. And I understand that. So that really was challenging early on, is trying to understand why they would shut down a program that we've done so much great work for. But again, a lot of that is coming from funding. So my goal with my company is to keep things very lean. I do not want to spend a lot of money, because I want to grow the company and not see it fail because we spent poorly.
Yeah, no, that's smart. That's smart business too. It's called controlled growth, right? And
yeah.
Was there ever a time that you questioned what you were going to do, like your career path, your choices that you made?
I don't think so. Everything comes to me. I mean, I've been very lucky in life, I guess. So it's just we're all given different opportunities. It's just taking them, and it's been the people around me that have supported me to make the right decisions. But again, I think life is one big experiment. We try this and we try that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Whether we learn from it or not, we may have to redo an experiment. But I think it's just an ongoing experiment in life. So I think. It's continuing, which is great. It's better than the other option.
Yeah. It's how rewarding has it been, to see your work influence the probiotic industry?
It's been very exciting. So just seeing where we've come. Early on in the space, people had no idea what flow cytometry was. So a lot of what I did was educate. And even with the FDA, tried to educate them that they were originally requiring milligrams for a biological. It didn't make any sense. They needed a functional biological assay. So it's just been a growing experience, learning and seeing where everyone is moving towards. So it's exciting to see that we are educating consumers, companies, and even in the government space, trying to help them to make the right decisions along the way.
Yeah. Did you ever, we talked maybe briefly about it in the past, but when it comes to mentorship, has there been an influential mentor in your career?
Not one particular one. There's always many people that have been in my life. I've had a very good friend of mine that I'm actually staying with here when I'm here in San Diego. She's been very influential in my business. She helped me early on in, again, being a scientist. I wasn't big on marketing and sales, and that's her expertise. She's the best sales and marketing person I've ever known in my life, and she helped me early on into understanding what people wanted, what they wanted to see. She helped me set up vendor tables, and so she was amazing in that space, and she's actually helping me now in some marketing and sales, even though she's doing other things and just had a baby. She's an incredible person, so she's definitely someone I look up to, and she's always been a mentor for me.
Good. And what advice would you give some young scientists out there seeking a mentor?
Find what makes you happy. We all work every day, and we can't look at it as making money. I know we all have to pay our bills, but if you do what you love, then it ends up not being work, and you will do so much better if you are happy every day. If you come home and are miserable from a job, it's going to hurt everything in your life and everyone around you. So you got to really be happy in what you do on a daily basis. It's not always going to be great, but you got to definitely move towards that direction.
Yeah. Well, what skills do you think the next generation of scientists must develop to be successful?
The big one I find is attention to detail, and I know that's not one particular skill set, but it encompasses everything. So in our space, we're looking at billions of cells per microliter. So every microliter counts, every bubble counts. If there's a bubble within a pipette tip, that means less cells than in the next one. So that's the piece I think a lot of people are missing is attention to detail. They aren't paying attention to everything they're doing, and they wonder why they don't get the same results every time. Being very diligent about what they're doing and documenting everything. Those are pieces that in science we're taught some, but I think we need to push that and make sure that we're following every protocol and writing everything down along the way.
Yeah, and then what about you? What about your opinion on accountability these days?
Well, I hope to be able to push that. I've definitely been doing that in the space of live and you're dead. Are the cells actually there? But I think now we're moving into this identity, being able to look at strains. I think that's really where accountability will come in. And there will be companies that will push back because it's going to cost them money. They use cheaper brands or cheaper probiotics that they can overfill, so they can show that they have a certain number of probiotics in there. But now that we're getting down to the strain level identity, that's going to really push them to do the right thing. So I really think accountability comes from using the right tools to look at whatever the products are.
Yeah, and with accountability comes integrity.
Absolutely.
Have you ever come across a situation where a company A finds out, the results of your work and still moves forward?
I don't see that side of it. So I've seen companies find that a product is not as healthy as they want, and I've helped them figure out why. So that's the companies I work with. I've seen them only move forward and try and make a better product. But that's just from what I see.
Well, obviously you've seen both sides in them.
I'm sure. But I only see the good in people, so I don't know. It's hard for me to know if anyone's doing anything on purpose or not.
Yeah, I see the good in everybody too, and maybe that's to a fault because I believe and I trust in people.
Yeah.
In my years, I could write a book on that by itself. Yeah. If you can leave our listeners with one message about leadership, perseverance, and making a difference in the world, and about resiliency, what would it be?
I think that life is really short. We only have a short time on Earth, on this planet, and we just need to be as positive in life as we can be. So every day we We should wake up and be happy that we actually woke up, because every day could be our last. And I know that sounds negative, but it changed a lot of things in my life when I was around someone who could have died every day. She had cystic fibrosis, so every day could have been her last. But she was super positive and amazing. So that, to me, changed a lot of things for me, seeing that someone who had this possibility of dying every day, she still woke up every day and was super amazed with life and super positive. That really, to me, is very important in being able to do anything in life. How do you start your day? Be appreciative of all the things around you, including being able to wake up and get up. So I think that I think is something that a lot of people don't pay attention to, and I think that's important. They should.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, and I think it's so important to understand the gift of time. You can't get back, right? And the heartbeat.
Time is the only thing we have. Time is the only commodity we have, and who we choose to be with is up to us.
Yeah, and that's why I always say, be around people that build you up, help you, guide you, or have a positive outlook, like your friend. And, be around those that, inspire you to become a better person, challenge you, and to get out of your comfort zone. And, and maybe those, you can count them on your hand at the end of your life, but it's better than none at all, because I've seen so many people just, they hang around negative people. They let other people control their emotions, and self-confidence seems to be an issue for a lot of people out there today. Great advice that you're giving. So let's have a bonus round here. Dana, you want to join me with a bonus round of questions?
Sure.
Right. Okay. So, if time permits, and you could finish with these quick questions, all right? So, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Your favorite book?
That's a tough one. I like a combination of detective story and science fiction. I'm a big sci-fi fan, but I don't think there's a favorite.
Depends what mood you're in, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the questions so far are a little bit of both. I love mountains. I love beach. But first thing,
Yeah. One scientist you would love to have dinner with?
That's an interesting question. I love to have dinner with. I don't know. That stumps me. I have to think about that.
Okay. And one word that best describes your leadership style?
Trusting, hands off, trusting my people.
Okay. And what's one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
Surprised to learn about me? Well, I think I've given up all my secrets here. I handmake jewelry. So I'm a scientist, so I love patterns and pattern repetition. So I wire weave jewelry with crystals.
Oh, wow.
So we started a business with my son years ago to set up a crystal store, and then COVID happened and shut everything down. So I still do a bit of the jewelry, and my son still does a bit of the crystals, but that's something different I do.
And what does success mean to you today?
Having great people around me, having people I can trust. That's very amazing. I've had some great people to learn from, and that's really where I want to continue going.
And where do you see the probiotic industry, 5 years from now?
I think we're really going to become much more personalized. We have to move in the area of understanding how we are all so different and how we can. There's no one-size-fits all. We need to find a probiotic that's going to work for some and not others, but it's going to come from learning and understanding how they're broken down differently on the different patients and how we can make things work better.
And if you were 18 years of age again, your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
Always wake up every day with a positive attitude, knowing that things are going to move in the right direction and you're always learning.
Yes, we call it new beginnings. No 2 days the same.
Yes.
That's a great attitude to have. Right? To be able to wake up and smell the roses, right?
Absolutely.
And be able to go out there and be given the gift of life to change the world in a positive way. And we all know that all starts by being kind to others.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, any last word for our listeners?
I think just wake up every day, smile, and be grateful for what you have and the people around you.
Yeah. It's well, I want to say thank you to your mom and dad for the exceptional human beings for what they've raised you and brought you into this world, and you are a shining North Star. I'm certain that they are very, very proud of you and what you've accomplished. Yeah. And you've done them proud, and you've done our industry proud. You've made a significant contribution, and this is how your story only begins. Yeah. So I just can't wait to see how your next 5 years of your career and what you're accomplished. We're so lucky to have you.
Well, thank you for having me. So honored.
Oh, you're welcome. You're such a beautiful gift to this world. Thank you. Right? And Peter, anything you would like to finish up with?
No, this has been an amazing personal interview as well as professional interview as well. So I've learned a lot, have more questions than I started with, and we have to have her back. Now, Dana, I've been a warm environment guy, and I've been a cold environment guy. I grew up in the cold, and now I live in the warm. Yeah. I get negative when I have to put on socks.
Me too.
Same way.
I am. I'm shivering all the time. I'm in San Diego, and it's in the 60s and 70s, and I'm shivering.
Oh.
So, Stephen, this has been a wonderful interview. And we have to learn more about her and some of the different things that she's got. And I hope she's got a podcast or newsletter or website that we can go search and maybe even ask some questions, because she's raised a lot of really great questions, and there's so many other things we'd love to ask her. So great job, Stephen. Thank you, Dana.
Oh, and thank you.
We'll wrap it up. So, Stephen, I'll let you wrap it up.
Yeah, and to our listeners out there, I hope you enjoyed this amazing, fantastic interview live from KISC My Health Radio. And as Dana said, wake up each day, thank the Lord, for the gift of life, and go out there and enjoy the precious moments that time has given you, and go out there and help others make a difference by being kind and good. That's a great way to start the day. Thank you so much for everyone listening today.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Dana. Here we go.
You've been listening to the KISC My Health Radio show on Building Fortunes Radio. Thanks for listening. This KISC My Health Radio show is brought to you by Stephen Lukawski. Stephen is known as the Cranberry King, universally known as Captain Cran Man. Stephen has over 30 years of experience working with manufacturers and marketers of dietary supplements and natural ingredients to make this world a healthier and a better place. You can check out Stephen Lukawski on LinkedIn and on the KISCMyHealth.com website. We are glad you listened in. Spread the word, and check out previous KISC My Health Radio episodes. Bye for now. It's been our privilege to have you listen in. At Building Fortunes Radio, we wish you the success you deserve and are willing to work for. Now go make the world a better place.